Rob, can you please explain to me what exactly your beef is with J.J. Abrams?
Legally, and for legal reasons, I'm not allowed to discuss this.
I believe you referred to him, and I quote here, you hate J.J. Abrams, and anyone who likes his media should be rejected on principle of bad taste. I believe that was your quote right there. Could you please clarify what you meant by this?
I think the statement stands for itself.
We're about to break a big rule of ours because we're about to cover something that has also been covered by Demolition D. I have mixed feelings about this, but Rob wanted to do it, so here we are.
Whoa. I never said I wanted to do this. I just said this would be quick and easy.
And as usual, it turned out to not be either of those things.
Yay.
You fucking liar who tells lies.
Don't believe
I hate doing solo videos, Robert. It makes me feel awkward. Anyway, yeah, we have done... This is Aim for the Top, or Gunbuster, which is a 1988 to 1989 OVA by Gainax. You might have heard of them. We might have covered them a few times. They've done some stuff.
Is this where I list things that are completely like no one thinks about when they talk about Gainax?
Yes.
Right, Magica Wars, Wish Upon the Pleiades, Medaka Box.
Weren't they also doing like porn games for a while because they ran out of money completely after Royal Space Force?
I believe so, but they don't tend to talk about that.
Funny that.
His and Her Circumstances, Uruchu Ban Epichu.
He is my master.
Yeah, he is my master. I always bring that up when we talk about Gainax, and I don't know why. I know nothing about it. If you click the Wikipedia page for that manga and you're just like, I'm going off that before the government raids my house.
I certainly hope you've got a
lolicon.
license. Well, no, I don't. But oh no! Have you beheaded?
And yeah, this is also the directorial debut of a certain director who, again, you all may have heard of, called Hideaki Anno.
Side note, the manga his wife wrote is honestly one of the funniest things I've ever read. It's hilarious because he's literally just an autistic retard. like the greatest bit in it is when his wife's trying to measure up for their apartment and he can only think of things in like the sizes of model boxes. So like she's telling him it's like, let's say it's something like 3 foot, and he's like, oh, that's the same as 8 freaking Kamen Rider bike specific model box unopened. She's just like, what is wrong with you?
But yeah, Hideaki Anno, who is obviously famous for Neon Genesis Evangelion, this is his first production where he is the director. He wrote it as well, but he also teamed up with a whole host of I'd call it the central talent of Gainax at the time. So Toshio Okada, Hiroyuki Yamaga, all of whom were major creators involved in Royal Space Force, so we discussed them previously. Go watch our previous videos, please. I want more views on that fucking video. It took so long to make.
What video is this again?
Fucking Royal Space Force, dude. Again, another one of your great ideas.
Dave, you knew fine well that partnering up with me would not lead us to YouTube success, but would lead us to being like edgy hipsters.
So the character designs were Haruhiko Mikimoto, who's another familiar face for us. He did War in the Pocket, which we covered recently. And then our chief animation director was Toshiyuki Kabuka, who was also, I believe, the animation director for Nadia, Secret of the Blue Water, and he also did all the designs for Idolmaster. So we have him to blame for Berserk never coming out.
Yeah. The music guy is also, because that's Kohei Tanaka, that's the Pat Labor guy as well as One Piece. I think he also did a Tenchi Muyo, so that means he's pretty based. Oh yeah, he did the music for Gravity Rush. And since I'm the only person in the West to have played that game, you're all plebs.
I don't even know what that is, so yeah.
It's a PlayStation Vita game where you play a character that can like bend gravity.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And it's written by the guy who wrote Silent Hill and the Siren series. So
nice. And then they put it on the PlayStation Vita, so no one fucking played it.
It's actually the game with the most sales on the PlayStation Vita.
So it sold, 10 copies? That's great. I'm really happy for it. But yeah, Gunbuster is a 6-episode OVA, largely focused on... It's like a weird mix of Top Gun, sports manga, and a really, really existential sci-fi. Really leans into the hard sci-fi elements, with giant robots as well. This was made in like the late 80s, which was when OVAs were starting to become more of a thing in Japan, and when the fandom around anime was solidifying a little bit more, and it was solidifying in a couple key tropes, namely shows that tend to have larger casts with lots and lots of grills in it, and then you put them in scantily clad clothing. So they were like, okay, we'll have a majority cast of women, and we will fan service service the shit out of this. Because holy shit, there's a lot of fan service in this. No, it's art, guys, honest.
The Virgin, oh, it's art. The Chad, I like looking at tits. It's the birth of otakus. And like, I don't think it's actually something we've ever actually addressed in the show, is how much I hate weebs.
It comes across, don't worry.
So Gunbuster is about space, bacteria coming to cleanse humanity of existing, time travel, question marks, black and white. What? Because I've had it on my hard drive for fucking years, and I've never got around to watching it.
Which you've legally purchased. We have legally purchased this. Wink.
From Bandai Namco. Enjoy, Dave. That's who has the license for
Ah,
this.
fuck.
Yeah, time dilation as opposed to time travel, I guess.
Actually, it's relativistic time dilation, sir.
I don't care. All I know is it's to do with the whole traveling at faster than light, and how that some things will be traveling at normal speed, but you will appear to be traveling faster, but also time will be appearing slower for you. So like, whilst you're going light speed, you're actually still traveling at normal time, but everyone else is going around you faster.
Or to put it a less stupid way, time dilation is a difference in the elapsed time measured by two clocks, either due to them having a velocity relative to each other, or by there being a gravitational potential difference between their locations. This is why you shouldn't let a pair of retards with less than 5 brain cells between them summarize complex scientific topics.
If you don't understand that concept, go watch The Cosmos and be less of a stoner whilst watching The Cosmos. But yeah, so like, there's stuff, black holes explode or something.
They use black holes as like a weapon to destroy alien bacteria that are coming to cleanse humanity.
So it is like that Star Trek episode.
Oh my god. Every video!
So you see, in Star Trek, the Romulans, their engines are powered.
Let's talk about the characters quickly.
There's 2.
There's technically 3, but yeah, there's 2. Young Freud is kind of just the proto-Asuka in that she's fucking annoying and really, really pleased with herself.
What's that? I don't know, just ripping off people's names to make up a TV character. Who'd have thought?
But yeah, with this one, we really only have 2 central characters. Our main one and kind of the protagonist is Noriko, who is your classic sports anime protagonist in that she starts off being this total fucking klutz who's really, really enthusiastic but not very good at it.
Also the same voice actor as the main character in My Neighbor Totoro.
I thought she sounded familiar. I like Noriko as a character, actually.
What, Proto Shinji?
Yeah,
Thanks,
pretty
Anno.
much.
Reusing more characters.
Like, I'll take that concept that I had for Noriko, but I'll just make her even more depressed. Noriko has those dark moments where she's overwhelmed and completely at a loss for what to do, but she is able to recover quite quickly. That's one of the things I like about her as a character. Like, I've seen a bunch of people talk shit online and go, oh, she's a total klutz. It's like, yeah, that's the point. She has an arc. She starts off crap. She goes through trials and tribulations. She tries, she fails, she gets back up again, and she carries on and becomes the best. That's a good arc. What's the name of the other kind of main character of this who's like, to the wiki?
Kazumai Amano? Or Amano Kazumai? Whatever. I don't speak Japanese. All I know is I'm the Commodore Perry of this fucking anime review show, so listen here, you fucking weebs.
So Kazumi is kind of the opposite of Noriko in every way conceivable, at the start at least. Like, she is the perfect trainee of this like academy. She is fantastic at it. She's beautiful. She's awesome. Noriko is crushing on her like crazy, but she's ironically the one who falls apart when it matters most. Like, Noriko fails at points, but when you're at the clutch moment, it's Noriko who's pulling through and having to drag Kazumi with her, which is kind of the irony of the shift in positions between them. And she's also crushing on Coach, who is a shouty man who decides that Noriko is absolutely the ideal person to send to space, even though Noriko does not know what the fuck she's doing, because this is a sports manga.
In the words of Demo D, people die because of this decision.
I don't know, like, I feel that gets played up much. Like,
People die.
I can tell how interested or bored you are by a series by how much you don't talk about the series that we're supposed to be reviewing. That's now your 3rd or 4th or possibly 5th tangent off about some random shit that is not Gunbuster. So that's how much you did not enjoy.
I was bored.
But yeah, I guess this is going to be one where we properly disagree, because I really quite enjoyed it.
Okay, I'll level with you. The Gunbuster recording session was an incoherent mess even by the low standards set by these two two fuckwits. So to try and salvage something out of this dumpster fire, Dave will first be explaining why he thinks the show is great. Then Rob will explain why Dave is dumb and wrong. Editing these videos makes me wish for the immediate heat death of the universe.
Let me explain why I think Gunbuster holds up, even to this day, and then you can scream about robot designs or something. Big part of what made it work for me was the hard sci-fi elements that Anno and the rest of the team used. These guys really went out of their way to explain how everything worked.
Okay, but this is the thing people forget about hard sci-fi. You can do hard sci-fi and not have to explain things. You just have to assume the audience is slightly intelligent. For example, in Star Wars, right?
Hello there.
Are you about to... You're talking about hard sci-fi and then you're bringing up Star Wars. What the fuck? I will fight you,
I will get
sir.
to my point. Star Wars is a space opera, but I will use the example of, do you care how the spaceship engines work? And then you get a show like Star Trek, which does explain within the series how it works, right? But is the story changed by that?
It depends if you bring the mechanics into the plot in a big way, which I think they do in Gunbuster, which is where relativistic time dilation comes in.
If you remove the time dilation element of Gunbuster, does it change the story?
Yes, it does, because time dilation is such a core part of it. It's the idea of these characters are having to deal with the consequences of moving through time. Right up until the point where the ending is entirely the consequences of them doing what they do is not that they're actually going to die, but it's more like a metaphorical death because they're going to lose their entire world. And by the time they come out of it, if they even come out of it, they don't know how far into the future it'll be. And they might be the last humans left. That's really the death in that. So yeah, 100% time dilation is core to the plot of this fucking OVA.
Okay, but what I'm more getting at is if you'd removed time dilation at all, and it was purely, instead of time dilation, you made it like the horrors of war.
Then you'd just be doing Gundam, and it wouldn't be nearly as cool.
And I'm just saying, it's just the exact same fucking thing. There's no actual change to it. They don't use the mechanic to change anything realistically for the characters.
What the fuck are you talking about? The character's age! That's a fucking thing that happens. Kazumi's 30 by the end of the show, whereas Noriko is still 17, 18. What the fuck are you on about? It's in the details with the design as well, the lasers on the ships, for instance, aren't just your Star Wars pew-pew lines. It's lenses that fold into each other and expand in order to fire, and you see proper batteries of these things. It's very cool. They clearly put a lot of time into developing the world and the lore and things like that. So did you watch any of the Gunbuster Science shorts?
No, I did not actually watch any of that.
Those are delightful, man. It's a great way of explaining the lore.
I think this boils down to more I have a problem with hard sci-fi, whereas I don't care. I think it gets lost in the weeds.
You can a bit. I feel like Gunbuster managed to find a really good balance, particularly when they moved a lot of those sort of the deep dive into their lore into the little Gunbuster Science shorts, which is this great little mix of actual research science and then their in-universe lore that explains how you can have faster than light travel and shit like that. They do some Blade Runner references. It's nice. It's great. I really enjoyed those. So I think it strikes a good balance between having a really, really solid hard sci-fi approach where your lore is well established and consistent throughout it. A big thing about a hard sci-fi is you can't do an ass pull ever. You have to explain the rules and stick to those rules for the whole thing. Otherwise, you aren't really doing a hard sci-fi. You are just doing soft sci-fi or space opera because you can just have a Klingon on the starboard bow and strap some things.
Star trekking across the universe.
Slowly going forward, 'cause we can't find reverse.
We could probably talk about the designs as well, because again, this was Mikimoto who did them, so they look pretty fucking good. They've got a nice distinct array of characters. You can easily identify them. They have all these little quirks that, again, with the designs as well. The bully character who's kicking the shit out of Noriko for the first episode and sticking pins in her chair and shit like that.
Who becomes coach.
Who becomes coach eventually as well. So one design choice that they go for with her is she constantly has this twitching eye every single time she's sort of interacting with Noriko or discussing Noriko. It gives you this sense of this barely checked aggression and anger and this sense that she feels challenged by this girl who ostensibly should be weaker than her It's a really, really clever wee touch, and that eventually evolves into this like proper popping vein on the top of her head. So again, just this unbridled aggression almost that she has, and it's conveyed in the design of her character. It's a really cool little detail that I thoroughly fucking enjoyed, and it's a sign that, you know, the guys at Gainax knew what the fuck they were doing. Even if you didn't really enjoy this though, dude, you got to admit that the animation was pretty fucking spot on this. Like
there are bits that are really good.
It's good shit, as you would expect from like Gainax and Hideaki Anno directing it, and shout out to like the chief animation director as well, like Kobuka. This was really cool. There's some weird moments that we'll get onto in a minute, but generally speaking, like so many times in this, you could just pause on any given frame as you're running through it, and it's like, yeah, I'd buy a print of that. That looks dope. That's really nice. Bittersweet endings. I'm a sucker for them. This one does it really, really good. It's technically got a happy ending, but also it's 12,000 years in the future and everyone they knew and loved is dead. It's that whole, hey, your sacrifice was worth it. That's kind of the main win that Naruko and Kazumi get. Like, they don't get a proper happy ending, but they get the everything you gave up, not in vain. So cheers, lads, kind of thing. So Rob, you did not enjoy this show as much as I do. I'm getting the impression.
I don't know, I just think I expected more and got less. You know, I've heard people talk about this lyrically before, not just like Demo D, and others have talked about this and how great it is as a series. Whilst I've seen a really good animation with a fucking really boring story and with characters that are so overdone and overused. Imagine, you know, the character that's good at the thing suddenly now having like doubts about themselves. Like, imagine writing that as a plot. Okay, cool.
It's a common trope, but I think it's
let's have the foreign character be also really good, but also start off as a rival and then become their friends. Also show their tits, because they don't know the same cultural norms as us.
Russians.
What a new and unusual thing. Let's make the bad guys something that we can't even understand as a concept. They're basically like space woodlouses. Why do they do things? We don't know. Space aliens or some shit.
I do have some issues with the way they deployed the monsters in this. Like when they first showed them, I thought they were setting up for something really, really fucking cool. Like the designs of them, like you said, like woodlousey, insecty, gross and purpley. They're very good at build-up in Gunbuster to an extent. They like to set things up and slowly develop it. So like they show some of the small consequences of time dilation, some of the larger consequences of time dilation, and then the massive consequences of it at the end. They kind of try and do the same thing with the monsters, but they fuck it up. In my honest opinion, like it's never has that same impact, probably because it was less of a focus. I feel like time dilation and the impact of that was more the enemy than these guys ever were, even though on paper these guys sound great. These are galaxy ending creatures that lay their eggs in stars and reproduce by destroying stars, and that are implied to be some sort of like antibodies for the universe, designed to seek out and destroy sentient life. That's a fucking strong pitch for an antagonist.
Yep.
And everything that I just told you there is explained to you by a boring man talking about it, because they don't actually know how to convey that. Yeah, they're just kind of there, and they're a bit gross and purple, but we don't have the budget to animate this because we're Gainax. So
it's like a specific Star Trek villain.
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
I suppose the mecha designs could be considered good, but they're just shameless rip-offs of other things. So it's like, well done, original people. You made some great stuff.
I feel like the actual Gunbuster itself is pretty distinct these days, largely because of the pose.
Is it? Go look at Mazinger and tell me it's not a rip-off.
Oh yeah, no, they're definitely taking their cues from previous things, but the way in which they styled it and presented it is definitely quite iconic now, and it kind of became part of Gainax's image and got carried over into future things.
Hold the phone. Let me just link you something here.
This is where you bring up something super fucking old and obscure that I've never heard of, and then go fuck yourself.
And I will put it in the shitpost then.
A few moments later.
Yeah, okay.
Go fuck yourself.
Okay, I see your point. It's clearly taking its cues from a lot of your classic super robot stuff. You know, good artists borrow, great artists steal. And like down to the fact that they have like their characters calling out their fucking attacks. Like no one was doing that at this point. They were very clearly trying to harken back to this style of giant robot
no,
shit.
it is taking a lot from these shows I've linked you pictures of. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it's all just rip-offs of Astro Boy, and don't at me. You know I'm right. I don't understand how you can have a slow-paced 6-episode OVA.
Yeah.
Fuck off.
Yeah, Gunbuster is quite a slow series. It takes its time.
I think that's the thing. thing is I went in expecting something fun and quick, and what I got was Space Odyssey 2001 Anime Edition. And I'm just left there going, fuck, this is how people who think that this film's shit feel. And I like that film. I know I'm wrong. I know, but it's just like, this was dull. I just wanted Star Wars.
I think it's Star Wars. We're doing hard sci-fi. You're gonna learn about time dilation and 10 Hauser gates, and you're gonna fucking enjoy it. Do you have anything that you actually enjoyed about this show?
No.
You really hated it that much?
I wouldn't say I hated it. I was completely indifferent to it. I don't think it brought anything new or original, even for the time. Mecha.
One final thing I wanted to bring up as well. I don't know if this is quite negative exactly, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the final episode and kind of the art direction that they take it in.
What? Sorry, what?
The art direction, Jesus fucking...
I'm tired, man.
Me too. We've been doing this nearly an hour and a half, so let's get it done. Art direction of the last episode, namely the way in which they shift up the color palette multiple times throughout that episode. What are your thoughts?
Did Gainax run out of budget again? It's my question.
See, that's the thing. Like, I've seen a lot of people say online that, oh, episode 6, they did it in black and white because they ran out of budget. But based on what I've been able to find online, it would actually have been easier, more cost effective, and more efficient just to stick to color.
I'll put it to you like this. Gainax was a brand new studio, didn't know what they were doing. Would they necessarily think like that?
No, they're thinking, how do we make this artsy?
Yeah, because like people always talk about the Evangelion ending, like they ran out of budget. I'm like, I don't think they did. I think they came up with something because it was easier to animate than it was saving money. It's just black and white, all the animation's still done the same, so I don't see how they would have done it cheaper.
Oh yeah, no, they definitely didn't.
Yeah.
This was more expensive, harder to do, and I think it did actually result in them having some issues. Like, you'll have noticed that there were several points where they imply that there's this big awesome space battle going on,
And you don't see it.
you're just showing stills of stuff happening, and it's like, that looks really cool. Do we get to see that animated? No, you do not. So I don't know, I have mixed feelings about it. Like, on one hand, I like the art direction of it. I like that they tried to do something a wee bit different, but on the other hand, I feel like the overall enjoyment of the episode suffers a bit as a result. This is a part where we can talk about Eva, because I wanted to kind of just quickly touch on what I guess we could call the legacy of Gunbuster, because obviously a lot of people will call this the spiritual predecessor of things like Evangelion.
And they're wrong. Like, what does Gunbuster realistically have super in common with Evangelion? Sad main character whose parent died. Gunbuster is maybe Gainax's, ends up being its legacy, I suppose, but it's one of them things where I think it's like how people talk about 1984 being like the best version of a dystopian future that we're going to see, and it's just like there's so much more to that whole genre than 1984. But yeah, like, does Gunbuster have a legacy?
I definitely think it does. The most iconic part of that legacy is the Gainax pose. Like, this is the first movie where that pitches up, and that is fucking everywhere now. Everyone loves doing a wee Gainax pose every now and then just to kind of harken back to that, and this is where it all came from.
But then you're talking about Gainax pose. Is that not really more the Trigger pose, if you will, now?
I mean, Trigger have taken it and carried that torch, but I mean, where did Trigger come from? Trigger came from the team that created Gurren Lagann, which I would argue is probably more of a true spiritual successor to Gunbuster than it is to Evangelion. They definitely, like, Evangelion definitely has... Anno was trying some stuff which he carried over into Evangelion, but I think the more true continuation is in Gurren Lagann, down to, like, the characters. Like, Noriko has way more in common with Simon than I would say with Shinji. Like, Shinji is way more fucked up than Noriko. Noriko is, for all she struggles and she has a bad time at points, she's still ultimately...
She's still human, whilst I would never describe Shinji as human.
Shinji's just a depression-riddled, PTSD-addled mess.
He's a husk of a human.
Yeah, he's fucked up. He's really fucked up, and he just needs a hug, and no one will fucking give him one.
Getting the hugging robot, Shinji. Oh god, is this a subtle Evangelion episode?
No! So, in summary, I enjoyed this one. I can see why people still look back quite fondly on Gunbuster. I get why this was the first success that Gainax had compared to something like Royal Space Force, which was just so fucking weird that, yeah, there was no way that was ever going to find much success outside of artsy hipsters, such as ourselves. Gunbuster took a lot of the kind of formative tropes of anime at the time, like, let's take a bunch of cute girls, put them in skimpy clothing, and have them fight aliens in space. That's going to sell a couple fucking, not Blu-rays at the time, but that'll get some rentals, I would imagine. But yeah, they took all of these kind of formative concepts and tropes that, you know, otaku were kind of getting into, and they did something Gainaxy with it. They told a really, really cool, hard sci-fi story that also included these weird, disparate elements. I liked the characters, art design was great. I really, really liked the kind of bittersweet, poignant ending that they went for, and I think it landed pretty well for me. Rob, you clearly disagree with everything I just said.
I've watched Pat Labor. This is shit. I really want a hard sci-fi show. Here you go, Dave. Enjoy. Oh, what's that, Dave? Is there a 6-episode OVA of Pat Labor? No, there's 7. And that was released at the same time. And it's better than this piece of shit. Because that's an actual hard sci-fi series where it makes sense.
This still makes sense. This was all still... I stand by every single fucking thing I wrote down here.
That's where you're wrong, but it doesn't matter because you're the one that edits these videos.
I know, right? So I can cut it together so that you sound stupid and I sound smart. We've not actually done a proper summary of the plot, I just realized. How the fuck are we so bad at this? Rob, tell the nice people to like, favorite, and subscribe and stuff, because I need a little dopamine kick as I watch our subscriber numbers go up.
I'm trying to find a thing. Just wait.
What are you trying to find, Robert?
We know we're under attack! We know it! We're breaking the conditioning! We're coming for you, globalist! Coming for you! Coming for you! We know what you're doing!
Please like and subscribe.